The first thing I have is what we call a long A chord. It's basically an A chord, your first finger, and you put your A on top. Cool little thing is you can bar the top two strings. It's a little more open sounding because it doesn't contain the third. It's a little more harmonically rich. And we're going to encounter this in the second part too. So I'm going to start with the A. Next chord, as we figured out, was E7. And since I have I'm going to leave a lot of space. I'm just going to do. And so it's a great little kind of fill that you're going to come across a lot. So it's basically E7. I'm going to hammer on from G to G sharp, open E string to the D note, and let it ring out. I mean, you could get that. I have a hard time setting that chord up, so I just break them down individual things. Like that. I find that much easier to play. You can try doing this, getting that ready. I have a hard time with that, so. All right, and then we go to the D7. I'm just going to play D7. And I play the D7 on a hybrid pick. I use my pick. And one thing I'm pointing out, I'm using the rounded side of my pick quite a bit. So I have that right here. And I use my middle finger and my ring finger to get the rhythm, right? Just kind of grabbing it. A little claw thing going on. An important thing about when you hybrid pick or finger pick in any way is this angle here. You don't want your hand too much like this, or else your fingers are going to hit into each other. That doesn't really work that well. So just want to have that little bit of like a 45-degree angle, and it gives you that. This is the way you would pick, right? Okay, now I go back to the long A, and there's a big Delta blues move right there. I have my A to A7. Really cool move to have together. Hear a lot in Robert Johnson's music, which I highly recommend you listen to. Okay, so once again, that's a hybrid pick thing for me. I spent a lot of time playing Delta blues and still do. So these are moves that you come across in the Delta blues. The Delta blues tunes kind of combine the two parts, which is cool. So then I do the long A to that A7. That E7 move again. Then what I call the Robert Johnson turnaround. So I have open A. My third finger on G, my pinky on A on top. Move this note down chromatically to the E, then to the E7. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can play that in a number of ways. I can do, that's what I did here, right? Or I could do a triplet on top. All those kind of variations are nice. Or I can just let it ring. And from part A, sorry, the bound to 1, 2, 3, 4, just an octave of what I played, which is really nice because you have a high part and a low part. Okay, so now for the second time through, I'm going to go up high. I'm going to play this A7 fingering. Kind of a cool voice thing for A7. Really works great only in open A. I have my open A, in A I should say. Here's my open A string, G, C sharp, and E. Right? And then I go to the 5 chord, which is E7. That's really pretty. I just went to an E triad, E, G sharp, and B, or a G sharp, B, and E. And the reason why I chose this, you have the E on both, right? So it's kind of cool. Those little things I'm looking for as opposed to going like, you know, you want to move as little as possible. It sounds really great. These jumps can sometimes even sound really ugly, frankly, or just amateur, right? When I hear guys who are jumping around like that, I'm like, he hasn't thought about this enough, or she hasn't thought about this enough. When I started thinking about like, oh wow, there's all these chords on top of each other. I don't have to move that much. Everything became much prettier. Okay, so A to the E. Now I wanted to get away from just outlining the chords, so I went, put a little line in there. So I am outlining the D7 chord here, but I'm just going to play the A and the F sharp to scale tones of G and E to an to a D major triad, excuse me. So I'm outlining the D, and the A and the F sharp, G and E, and then I'm going to resolve to the D major triad. You can slide in, which is really pretty because it breaks up the basic just chords. Hybrid picking on all of this. So I highly recommend you work on hybrid picking, and this is just a great way to start doing it. Then I went to an A up here, A7, and then to my E. So my A went to A triad on the top, and I just played an A7, putting the pinky right there because it sounds nice. Then to the E7 chord. We've come across this voicing in the intro where I ran through the voicings, but it's off of this. I can see it based upon this E7 fingering. I'm just going to bring it to the top 4 strings, and I get that, which is super common, my root being right here. Then I went to the long, then I went to A, then my turnaround. So I could do the turnaround, I could have ended it differently. Could have gone to that E right there, but I just chose that. That sounds good and it's nice and big. You don't always have to be super clever. Sometimes you can be, like Spinal Tap, too clever. You don't want to get too clever on some of these things because then it detracts away from sometimes the beauty and the simplicity of the blues. That being said, you do want to start thinking about, well, creating little lines within there, and that's what makes it really interesting for me as well. How can I be as clever as I can be without being too clever, right? And sticking within the framework of the music. If you get too clever, it doesn't sound, you're moving around too much and doing a lot of this stuff, it takes it out of maybe that style of blues. So if you have this traditional sort of Chicago feel to this with a little bit of Delta, and then you start adding in more advanced stuff, it's going to take it away from that style. So that's something to really think about. Am I playing within the style of the rest of the band? Because if you're the outlier doing all this crazy stuff, you're going to lose your gig.